Hi, my name is Maya Sullivan, and I'm 32 years old. For as long as I can remember, I've been the quiet one in my family, never the star of dinner table conversations, never the one whose accomplishments earned applause. Tonight, however, everything is about to change. I'm standing in the vestibule of Bluebird, Chicago's newest Michelin-starred restaurant. The crystal chandeliers overhead cast a warm glow across the waiting area, and I can just make out the river's reflection through the floor-to-ceiling windows. My sister, Nora, is hosting her engagement dinner here, and as I smooth the fabric of my simple black dress, I feel that familiar knot of nerves tighten in my stomach. I wasn't supposed to be Maya Sullivan, product manager at Nextech. To my family, I was still Nora's older sister who tinkered with code in her spare time. I slipped past the hostess and reached the private dining room. My parents, Samuel and Alexandra Mitchell, are already there, seated at a long table set with gleaming silver and fine china. I notice the place cards. Nora has her fiancé, Megan, next to her. I, on the other hand, am seated beside cousin Mark, who has never expressed the slightest interest in my career. No matter. I've learned to keep my expectations low. My hands feel clammy on the stem of my champagne flute, so I clutch the stem instead and focus on the rhythm of my breathing. Act normal. Smile.
Nod.
Small talk is my family's favorite sport. Tonight's toasts will celebrate Nora's achievements, her flawless grades, her acceptance into medical school, her future as a respected physician. That's the script I've watched play out at every holiday dinner for years. Except tonight, there's an undercurrent I can't ignore. I've spent the past 5 years designing, testing, and launching the Nextech platform as a health tech product manager. In that time, I've helped secure $7.5 million in seed funding, negotiated a $45 million Series A, and directed a team of 30 engineers. We've cut medication errors by 40% in pilot hospitals and signed an agreement this morning to roll out Nextech across 20 hospitals in 3 states. All without my family having the faintest idea what I actually do. I hear the soft clink of a fork against china as my father stands to give a toast. My pulse hammers in my ears. Is tonight finally the night I step out of the shadows? The moment I've both dreaded and secretly longed for is just seconds away. Dinner with the Mitchells was never just about food. It was a performance review. As Dad raised his glass, he beamed and said, "To our brilliant daughter Nora, who continues to make us proud." The applause rolled across the table, and I offered a polite smile, raising my flute in Nora's direction. Mom's eyes glittered with pride, and I wondered, would they ever look at me that way? Growing up in Highland Park, our home was a perfectly manicured symbol of success. Samuel Mitchell, a high-powered corporate attorney, carried himself with the authority of someone who'd never lost a case. Alexandra Mitchell, a former judge, commanded every room with her steely gaze and flawless rhetoric. And there was Nora, 2 years younger, studious and disciplined, whose awards wall glittered with science fair trophies and scholarship certificates. In contrast, my achievements were buried in notebook margins, diagrams of HTML tags, Python code snippets, and wireframes for apps I sketched on napkins. I can still recall Mom's dismissive smile when I proudly declared at age 15, "I taught myself HTML this weekend." She patted my shoulder. "That's nice, honey. Now get back to debate team prep. Colleges look for sustained commitments." I nodded, though my heart sank. Debate felt like reciting someone else's arguments. Coding was where my curiosity burned. My refuge was my bedroom, a small attic room lined with shelves of programming books and glowing computer screens. Late at night, I'd lose myself in coding forums, devouring tutorials on JavaScript and API integrations. Under the soft hum of my desk lamp, I wasn't Mama's hobbyist daughter. I was a creator imagining a platform that could transform patient care. When I was 16, I built a simple fundraising tool for my high school's massive charity event. Mrs. Winters, the event coordinator, marveled, "Maya, your software just halved our planning time." She buzzed with excitement as she told my parents. But when I arrived home clutching a trophy, Dad offered a brief, "Well done," before shifting the conversation to Nora's upcoming medical school interviews. That was the last time I tried to share my world with them. Their indifference, unspoken but palpable, became my motivation. If they wouldn't celebrate my passion, I'd prove it outside family echo chambers. I decided then I would follow computer science, build something that mattered, and do it on my own terms. No more apologies. No more hiding. As the toast ended and Nora's fiancée Megan raised her glass in celebration, I felt a quiet resolve settle in my chest. One day, they'd understand. Or they'd have to. For now, I'd keep coding, keep dreaming, and keep building, even if it meant walking this path alone. By the time I graduated high school, my acceptance letters to top law programs and Ivy-tier universities were already hanging on our refrigerator. My parents saw technology as a stepping stone at best. Maybe you'll find something more stable, they'd say. But I'd made up my mind. I enrolled at Illinois Tech on a merit-based scholarship for computer science, trading well-worn debate notes for algorithms and data structures. College felt like liberation. In lecture halls filled with peers who spoke my language, I wasn't the oddball tinkering in an attic room. I was Maya, the student whose code was commended and whose solutions were sought after. One afternoon in advanced systems design, I met Sarah Miller. She breezed into the final project workshop carrying an aura of confidence I respected. The task was tough: create a prototype for secure medical data exchange. Most teams struggled to finish the basic requirements, but Sarah and I finished ours in half the allotted time, and then added extra features for patient reminders and real-time alerts. That evening, over 2 cups of cafeteria coffee, we sketched on napkins and whiteboards. We laughed at how our professors worried about data encryption, while we were more concerned with user-friendly interfaces. Sarah's mother had nearly died from a misdiagnosis, she confided, and the constant miscommunication between specialists inspired her passion. I share my own frustrations. Pilots I'd run during high school fundraisers showed me the power of technology to streamline chaos. By the end of the week, we had the skeleton of a platform that could revolutionize hospital workflows. Encouraged by our professors, we entered the regional entrepreneurship competition. Our polished demo won first place, along with $50,000 in seed funding and a standing ovation. At the awards banquet, Dr. Emily approached us. As the head administrator of Mercy Regional Hospital, she'd seen our demo and was eager to pilot it. This could reduce errors and save lives, she said, eyes gleaming. With her endorsement, we had our first real paying client. Back at our shared apartment over winter break, Sarah and I drafted our business plan and incorporated Nextech. Our parents laughed when we told them we were starting a company, but we didn't mind. The drive to prove ourselves had only grown stronger. As spring semester kicked in, our team expanded from 2 to 5, coding in cramped labs and pulling all-nighters fueled by pizza. We balanced lectures, club meetings, and late-night debugging sessions. Every success sealed our determination. We were no longer merely students. We were entrepreneurs poised to reshape healthcare communication. That summer marked the true beginning of our journey, one powered by vision, grit, and a belief that technology could bridge gaps where medicine alone fell short. That summer, Sarah and I transformed Sarah's parents' garage into our makeshift headquarters. With cardboard boxes for storage and mismatched folding chairs, we christened it the Nextech Innovation Lab. We'd wake at dawn to review user feedback, design new interfaces, and troubleshoot bugs. Over the weeks, our initial $50,000 prize money dwindled on server hosting, development tools, and our first piece of essential hardware, a dedicated test server. Our first milestone came when Dr. Emily announced her hospital was ready to pilot our beta. Mercy Regional allocated awards worth of devices to test Nextech's messaging module. Within days, nurses reported a 25% reduction in medication errors during shift changes, proof our platform could make a real difference. Buoyed by the data, Sarah and I pitched to a regional outpatient network. They signed a contract for $75,000, a modest sum but a crucial validation of our business model. With revenue trickling in, we hired our first contractor, Alex, a brilliant lead developer fresh out of a boot camp. He brought expertise in system architecture and joined us full-time for an equity stake. Our team swelled to 5: Sarah, Alex, a UX designer, a data analyst, and me overseeing product roadmaps and stakeholder communications. By Thanksgiving, Nextech had secured $7.5 million in seed funding from angel investors impressed at a demo day. The funds allowed us to lease a small co-working office in Chicago's South Loop. We upgraded our equipment from cobbled-together laptops to dedicated workstations, and we installed a proper conference room with whiteboards covering every wall. Our all-nighters shifted from cramped garages to late-evening brainstorming sessions under LED lights. Each new contract, whether the $100,000 deal with a suburban hospital network or the strategic partnership with a statewide clinic association, demonstrated that hospitals valued our vision. As health tech product manager, I coordinated user training, gathered feature requests, and synthesized them into prioritized development sprints. Watching clinicians navigate an interface I designed and nod in approval never lost its thrill. Yet, despite these tangible successes, my parents remained unaware. At Christmas, I returned home and slipped back into my old routine, praising Nora's medical rotation, fielding questions about my tech support job, and downplaying Nextech's achievements as a side project with a few clients. Their disbelief stung, but the garage-to-office journey reminded me why I'd chosen to stay silent. Success tastes sweetest when you build it on your own terms. That winter, as snow blanketed the city, our team celebrated our first anniversary. We toasted to reliability, user satisfaction scores above 90%, and our shared dream. In that moment, I felt it. Nextech was no longer an afterthought. It was my life's work and the catalyst for a revolution in healthcare communication. By my junior year, Nextech had grown from a garage experiment into a lean startup with a dedicated team. Our small office hummed with activity, coders hunched over keyboards, the UX designer sketching new layouts, and me juggling meetings with potential clients, investors, and clinicians. We hit two major milestones that semester. One series of funding. After months of presentations and countless slide decks, we closed a $45 million Series A round with Sierra Partners for a 30% equity stake. The infusion of capital allowed us to hire 5 more engineers and a business development manager. Finally, I could replace our cramped co-working desks with proper standing workstations. 2. Expanding to new markets. We signed a contract with Memorial Health System, 20 hospitals across 3 states, to deploy Nextech's full suite. The deal alone was worth $300,000, and it propelled our annual revenue growth by 300%. Reports from Memorial indicated a 40% reduction in communication errors within the first quarter of implementation. As the health tech product manager, I led our product roadmap, ensuring every new feature, secure messaging, automated alerts, and user analytics, was rigorously tested and iterated. I coordinated cross-functional sprints, translating clinical feedback into engineering tasks. When the engineers hit critical bugs, I rolled up my sleeves and sat with Alex at the whiteboard, mapping out solutions. Despite these victories, my personal life remained compartmentalized. At our small launch party, pizza, soda, and a handful of family friends invited as guests of honor, I watched as my parents mingled, congratulating Alex on Maya's tech support team. I let it slide. I'd grown accustomed to living a double life. That Christmas, we celebrated Nextech's 5th anniversary in our new mezzanine office overlooking Lake Michigan. Investors toasted our $150 million valuation, and the team cheered as I unveiled our 3-year plan to expand internationally. I should have felt elated, but all I could think about was the upcoming engagement dinner. My heart tightened at the thought of facing my family again while carrying the weight of all they never understood. Yet, I'd never been more prepared. Bluebird was no longer just the backdrop for family drama. It was where my narrative would finally unfold, on my terms and with the truth shining as brightly as the Chicago skyline outside those windows. As Nextech's momentum grew, so did outside interest. One crisp spring morning, my phone buzzed with an email from Horizon Health Technologies, a national health software giant. They'd been watching our growth and wanted to discuss a potential acquisition. Heart pounding, I forwarded the message to Sarah and Alex before replying. Initial offer, $45 million for full acquisition, with conditions to integrate our team into Horizon's existing product group. Sarah and I reviewed the terms over coffee in the conference room. A $45 million buyout sounded generous, but the stipulation, to dissolve Nextech's brand and subsume our team, felt like giving up everything we'd built. After a lengthy discussion, we respectfully declined. Our vision was too important to lose. Within days, Horizon returned with another proposal. Minority investment. Sierra Partners, a leading VC firm, would invest $45 million for a 30% stake, valuing Nextech at $150 million. This offer aligned with our goals. We'd secure significant capital to hire talent and expand into new markets without sacrificing control or our core mission. In a tension-filled board meeting held in our South Loop office, Sarah and I presented Horizon's revised plan to our advisors and unanimously voted to accept the minority investment. With fresh capital flowing in, we recruited top engineers, beefed up our support infrastructure, and launched targeted marketing campaigns. Our user base nearly doubled within 3 months, and hospital systems in the Midwest began clamoring for Nextech's cutting-edge communication suite. Despite this progress, Horizon kept the door open. At a high-profile health tech conference, their VP of Corporate Development cornered me backstage. "We're impressed with Nextech's growth," she said earnestly. "Let's talk one more time about an acquisition at a premium." When I returned to the office, Alex and Sarah joined me in drafting a final acquisition framework, one that would honor our brand and guarantee operational autonomy for at least 3 years post-closing. 2 weeks later, we received Horizon's final proposal. Acquisition deal: $300 million for full acquisition, with a 3-year earnout that preserved Nextech's name, team, and product roadmap. It was the culmination of every late night, every rejected toast, and every notebook sketch. I scheduled a family dinner at our office to share the news, though somehow I sensed that the real reveal would come at Nora's engagement celebration, where the Mitchells would finally learn what I'd accomplished. The $300 million figure shimmered on my screen as I typed my acceptance. In that moment, I realized I no longer needed anyone's permission to validate my work, because I'd already built something the healthcare world couldn't ignore. The night of Nora's engagement dinner arrived with a spring breeze off the Chicago River, adding a gentle chill to the air. Bluebird's private dining room was alive with crystal chandeliers and hushed excitement. I arrived punctually in a simple black sheath dress, no flashy accessories, no mention of my company. To my family, I was Maya Sullivan, Nora's older sister, a modest health tech product manager who they assumed worked a quiet desk job. Our table formed a horseshoe around the room. At the center sat Samuel Mitchell, my father, raising a glass to his daughter's accomplishments. Across from him, Alexandra Mitchell smiled approvingly at Nora as she recounted her residency interviews. The conversation danced between medical journals, wedding venues, and future grandchildren. Then, as the first course arrived, Megan Winters, Nora's fiancée, turned toward me with an expression I'd never seen before: recognition. She set down her utensils and leaned in, addressing the room so all could hear. "Maya, forgive me for interrupting, but are you Maya Sullivan from Nextech? The one whose team you led as health tech product manager?" A hush fell over the table. I felt every eye shift to me: father, mother, sister, and even cousin Mark. My heart stuttered, but my voice remained calm. "Yes. As a matter of fact, I am." I paused to let the impact sink in before I continued. Nextech's platform has been live in 3 regional hospitals for over a year, reducing medication errors by 40%. This morning, we finalized a $300 million acquisition with Horizon Health Technologies, preserving our brand and our team for at least 3 years post-closing. Silence stretched, broken only by the soft clink of my mother's champagne flute setting down. Samuel's jaw hung open. Even Nora, always composed, looked momentarily stunned. Then the room erupted in a flurry of questions. A $300 million deal? How did we not know? So, hospitals really use your software? Maya, we had no idea. My parents' faces cycled through shock, pride, and a tinge of guilt. I answered politely, outlining my key responsibilities, managing product roadmaps, coordinating with clinical advisors like Dr. Emily, and overseeing Alex and the engineering team. Each detail was a thread woven into years of silent dedication. When the flurry settled into odd murmurs, Nora reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. In that moment, the validation I'd longed for transformed into genuine connection. Dinner resumed, but this time the conversation revolved around my achievements. Relatives who'd never asked about my career suddenly sought investment advice. My mother admitted, "I always knew you had a gift. I just didn't understand it." My father vowed to champion my successes at his firm. As dessert plates were cleared, I lifted my glass for a final toast. Thank you all for celebrating Nora tonight, and for finally seeing me for who I am. Here's to family, new chapters, and creating our own definitions of success. Glasses clinked, smiles shone, and I realized that stepping into the light felt far more empowering than any hidden triumph. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the grand windows of the Drake Hotel's private dining room, where my parents and I gathered for the follow-up brunch. The air was thick with both anticipation and the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Samuel waited with a tentative smile, while Alexandra fidgeted with the napkin at her place setting. I began gently. Yesterday's dinner was enlightening, but I think we need an honest conversation about how you saw my work and how I actually pursued it. Samuel cleared his throat. Maya, we're proud of you. Truly. But it was a shock. 5 years of your life, and we had no idea what you accomplished. I nodded. That's exactly my point. Every time I brought up my career, it was dismissed as a hobby or an unpaid side gig. You never asked for details, only confirming questions that fit your expectations. Alexandra looked down at her toast. We wanted what was best for you. Law and medicine are stable, respected paths. But they weren't mine, I replied. I chose a different route because I believed in it, because I saw an opportunity to make a real difference in patient care. I needed you to respect that, not redirect me towards something you understood. There was a long pause. Then Alexandra spoke in a quieter tone. I admit, I didn't understand technology. I grew up in courtrooms, not coding boot camps. But I see now that Nextech isn't a hobby, it's a company changing lives. Samuel reached for my hand. Maya, I'm sorry we never truly asked. We only saw what we thought was best. Can you forgive us for overlooking you? I squeezed his hand. Yes. But moving forward, I need you to engage with me on my terms. Ask questions. Listen to my answers, even if they're outside your comfort zone. Nora chimed in with a supportive smile. I've learned so much, Maya. I'm happy to bridge the gap anytime. The rest of our conversation was bittersweet but hopeful. We outlined weekly check-ins, calls where we discuss Nextech's progress, and agreed to occasional office visits, so they could see the team in action. Alexandra even admitted she'd like to learn more about product roadmaps and UX design. As brunch ended, I felt a new kind of calm. The validation I craved wasn't a one-time revelation. It was an ongoing dialogue built on mutual respect. Stepping into the light didn't mean forcing my family to change overnight. It meant inviting them to walk alongside me, understand my journey, and celebrate it genuinely. Over the next few weeks, life settled into a new rhythm of collaboration and connection. My morning routine began with quick check-ins with Nora, who is now genuinely curious about Nextech's progress. She'd send me news articles about health tech trends, and our texts moved beyond family chit-chat into discussions of user engagement metrics and UI improvements. Back at the office, Sarah Miller and Alex spearheaded a major feature rollout, real-time alerts integrated with wearable devices. I worked closely with our clinical advisor, Dr. Emily, to fine-tune the alert thresholds so nurses wouldn't be overwhelmed by false positives. Their feedback helped us iterate faster than ever. Meanwhile, Isla, my dedicated assistant, managed my calendar with military precision. She reminded me of investor calls, lined up demos for potential clients, and even flagged a few articles that mentioned Nextech's impact. On one afternoon, She burst into my office holding a printout. An article in Health Tech Today highlighted our $300 million acquisition as a watershed moment in digital healthcare. The team gathered around, cheering and tossing high fives as the office buzzed with pride. Outside work, I reconnected with Lily, my childhood friend who'd always been my biggest supporter. We met for brunch at our favorite cafe. She listened intently as I walked her through the acquisition terms and our expansion plans. When I gave her the behind-the-scenes scoop, her eyes lit up. "Maya, this is incredible. You turned your passion into a calling." Her genuine excitement reminded me why I'd embarked on this journey. At home, family dinners evolved into genuine exchanges. Samuel asked insightful questions about product roadmaps. Alexandra confessed she'd taken an online UX course to better understand my field. Nora updated me on her medical residency and even shared notes about hospital workflows I could adapt for Next Tech. Megan joined us occasionally, bridging the professional and personal worlds with warmth and curiosity. One evening, Sarah invited me to co-host a mentorship workshop for high school girls interested in STEM. Lily volunteered as a guest speaker, sharing how technology had changed her career trajectory as a graphic designer. As we guided young women through coding exercises and product management simulations, I saw reflections of my younger self, the curious teenager with bright ideas but no audience. Together, we built more than software, we built a community. That night, driving home under the glow of street lamps, I realized how far I'd come. The journey from attics and garage offices to boardrooms and mentorship stages had been shaped by resilience, vision, and the gradual opening of my family's hearts and minds. I no longer walked alone. I had advocates at home, allies at work, and a growing network of women lifted by Nextech's success. 6 months after the engagement dinner, Nextech's acquisition by Horizon Health Technologies closed seamlessly. My title transitioned from Health Tech Product Manager to Director of Innovation, leading a dedicated division within Horizon. The $300 million deal ensured that Nextech's brand, team, and mission remained intact and offered resources to scale globally. My office now overlooks the Chicago River from a high-rise in the Loop. On my desk sits a framed photo of our original garage team, Sarah, Alex, and me, next to a digital plaque commemorating our $150 million Series A milestone. Isla manages my team's calendars. Lily occasionally drops by to brainstorm workshop ideas, and Dr. Emily continues advising our clinical integrations. Even Samuel and Alexandra scheduled a group tour of Horizon's Innovation Lab last week. They hovered by our demo pods, eyes alight with genuine curiosity. Each morning, I review our global rollout metrics. Reduction in communication errors, 43% average across pilot sites in Europe and Asia. User satisfaction scores, 91% positive feedback from nurses and physicians. Monthly active users, surpassed 50,000 clinicians across 5 continents. That afternoon, I'll co-host a webinar for health tech leaders on empowering clinicians through better product design, sharing lessons learned, from sketching prototypes on cafeteria napkins to negotiating a $300 million acquisition. Later tonight, I'll join Nora and Megan at my apartment for our newly established family tech nights, where we discuss the latest app features over takeout sushi. It's become a monthly tradition, equal parts professional showcase and sibling bonding. Sometimes I marvel at the journey, the coding marathon in my attic, the garage turn lab, the silent sacrifices, and the ultimate revelation at an engagement dinner. But what resonates most is the freedom I've claimed, to define success on my own terms and invite my family to celebrate it genuinely. Validation wasn't a destination, it was an evolving dialogue. If you're watching this and ever felt dismissed for your passion, remember, build your vision, stay true to your values, and let your work speak loudly enough that even the skeptics can't look away. I'm Maya Sullivan, and this is proof that forging your own path can lead to transformations beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found my story inspiring, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of forging your own path, because your passion deserves to be seen.